Hello, my name's David Paine, and welcome to my studio. uh, we're going to start off with a little mountain painting today, just kind of a easy one. Um, I took a photo while we were in Colorado. We were just driving down the highway, so it's not a very good photo, and I took it through the windshield. But we can use it as a base for our painting and use artistic license to make it look better than the photo, I'm pretty sure. The colors we're using today are cobalt blue, blue gray, and titanium white to start off with. And that'll be for our sky. I also have linseed oil, and of course you have to have some kind of paint thinner, mineral spirits, something like that. Make sure it's odorless. I'm using about a 1-inch wide brush, oval on the top, number 18. I always use long handled brushes because oil painting I like to stand back. I like to be back away from the canvas. When we start on our mountains, I'm also going to use a long handled dagger brush. This one's about a 1/2-inch brush, number 7. I get all my products at Hobby Lobby, just in case you're wondering where I get my products at, and these are all Master's Touch oil paints. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to dip into some linseed oil to kind of thin everything down. And what I like to do is kind of start a little bit dark. I'm dipping into cobalt blue, just straight cobalt blue. And I want to bring the sides down a little bit on the sky and go across the top and just make that straight cobalt blue, make it kind of dark. My palette, I do several paintings in a day and during the course of a week, so my palette's always dirty. Sometimes I get other paint color in there with it, as long as it's not something ridiculous like green. You don't want a green sky, but in most cases you're alright. Okay, now that we're getting down that far, I'm going to start adding in the blue-gray to kind of lighten it up. I'm crisscrossing these strokes. I'm leaving it real rough. When I paint, I don't try to smooth everything out. I leave rough strokes on there. And then I'll show you my mop brush in a minute, but that's what I use to smooth everything out with, and I don't over smooth it either because I like this action in the sky. It makes it look like clouds. Okay, I got a big cloud bank, so I'm going to start adding in white, and I'm just using the same dirty brush. I'm not even washing it out or anything. I use circular motions, I use crisscross motions, just get a lot of action in there. I keep dipping in the linseed oil too because I want this to flow while I'm putting it on here. You can kind of decide how much linseed oil you'll kind of get the hang of how much linseed oil you need to dip into to do this once you get a feel for it. Now I'm going to go back to some cobalt blue. Put some darker areas in there. kind of mix it back and forth. Going back and forth from white to blue. For this first painting, we can just kind of wing it. For a lot of my painting, I know there's artists out there that really plan out their paintings real carefully. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. For the most part, I just kind of like getting an idea and just kind of winging it. Because a lot of planning, for me anyway, I don't know if this is like this for everybody, but it just kind of kills my loose style, I guess you'd say. I want it to appear like it's loose and free. Okay, this is the mop brush I was talking about. Number 16 mop brush. I'm going to go in here and just kind of do circular motions. And more or less, I want to keep the action. I don't want to do this too much. I can clean it off at the bottom when I get too much paint on it, but I want to keep the action we got, so I don't want to overblend. I'm basically just knocking off the hard edges is what I'm doing. I just want to keep all that nice action in the sky going. Some places maybe I don't like the action, I'll blend them out more. I always have a rag handy too. I can wipe stuff off on a rag. Sometimes you get paint boogers in there. You gotta get them out and wipe them off on the rag. Definitely don't want any boogers in your paint, in your painting. Just so you know, paint boogers are the little where the paint kind of balls up in some areas and they kind of stick out off your canvas. You don't want any of that. If you catch them, just get them off while you can. There we go. See how nice of a sky that is already? Make sure you cover up all the white of the canvas. Another paint booger. Okay. Now, we can start laying in some mountains. For the mountains, I got my number 7 half-inch brush here. We want some, I got to put some paint on my palette here. But I want to get some burnt umber. And I probably want some purple blue too, so I'm going to put that on there. Like I said, these are all Master's Touch paint products. Okay, now I want to mix burnt umber with that cobalt blue I already got on the palette. A little bit of that purple blue. I'm going to go up in here and do the kind of the outline of that mountain. The top edge, that is. Can't see all the edges because a lot of it's covered up by clouds, and I'll come in later after this is dry and I want to put some of them clouds over the mountains that we paint just to kind of set it back into that cloud bank. These mountains are so high they're up in the clouds, which I think is really cool. should explain to you. The farther things are away, the lighter in value or value of color they're going to be. So I don't want this real bright because these mountains are so far away. I want them to appear way back in the distance. And I'll take that down there like that. So they're not too much stronger than the sky itself in value, just enough to get them to show up. Go through, I'm going to fill this in with color down into here. Make sure all the white's covered on here. Alright, then down here, I want to make sure there's plenty of color down here, so I'm going to switch back to my number 18, this 1-inch brush. Purple blue, burnt umber, cobalt blue, and I just kind of want to blend that up, and then I want it darker down here, but I just kind of want to blend that up into the top part of the mountain. I'm just trying to get color in down here at the bottom. That way it'll be ready for my foreground work later on. And this also gets rid of excess paint on my palette, so I don't waste any paint. Get all the paint boogers out, those are no good. Okay, we get our mountain going on pretty good. Let's put in the next layer. Now I'm going to switch to phthalo blue. Gotta get some of that on my palette here. Phthalo blue, burnt umber, probably need some more white because I ran out of white. Okay, I'm going to put in the dark part first, so I'm going to dip into my phthalo blue and burnt umber. And looks like our light is basically, we're just going to say it's coming from the right side of the canvas, more or less. because it's kind of hard to tell in this photograph anyway, so we'll just kind of make it up. And also the clouds in the picture cast shadows on the mountains, so we're going to kind of deal with that also. So you just kind of go in here and lay in this dark, shadowy part of the mountain. This part back here is kind of in silhouette almost. Like I said, you don't want to go too dark here now. You can also adjust, make the edges of the mountains bigger or smaller, this phase of the painting also, if you want to. See, I'm leaving these strokes kind of choppy. It also adds ruggedness to these mountains. See, already we're starting to get kind of a feel for how we want these mountains to look. Now this is all kind of lighter colored in here. Kind of want this dark back here. A lot of these dark areas, it's part of the mountains that's covered by trees, and it's also shadows being cast by the clouds and various other things. The cliffs and everything in the mountains itself casting shadows on other parts of the mountains. So there's a lot going on here. Like I said, I got to use artistic license. I can't quite make this photograph out quite good enough in some parts to even know what's going on, so I just make it up, and I kind of like that. Kind of challenges me and hones my skills and helps me become a better artist. Don't forget, since this is a recording, you can, if I'm moving too fast for you, you can stop it until you catch up, replay certain parts, whatever you want to do. I'm sure you folks know that though, you can figure that out. Now, in the dark areas, it's dark, but you can even darken up some parts more than others just to show other things going on in there. Even shadows, they're not totally dark. In nature, you can see what's going on in some of the shadow areas. So I like to even put darker areas in there to kind of emphasize that. Also gives the mountain a little bit more detail and interest. Okay, now for this lighter area, I've been kind of debating on what do I want to use there. I think I want to use some burnt sienna. It's almost kind of a gray color, but I'm going to change it up from the picture just a little bit. And I don't want to use too much burnt sienna because it's kind of a reddish color. And I'm using the same old dirty brush here. And white, burnt sienna and white. I want it to be pretty light in color, and it's actually going to mix with the blue on the canvas, which is okay. And I'm just going to kind of come through here and put some of that in the areas where the light's hitting it. And maybe even some more white in some other areas. Right here, that side might have more light hitting it, like that. Just kind of pick out areas you want to see more highlight in or whatever. This might come over the top of that, which is kind of cool. And they kind of blend into one when you get down there. Now over in here, this might be a little bit darker. Lighter than the dark part, but darker than the lightest part. I like variation going on in here, so you can tell what's going on. Okay, want that to be a little bit lighter. Kind of want some more light up here. So I'll take straight white, and the straight white will blend in with that. It'll blend in with that color underneath and turn into kind of a gray, which is cool. I like that. I think I want some more lighter areas, like off over in here maybe, just a touch of it. Where some light might be breaking through and hitting that mountain. Maybe some kind of coming down through there, that's kind of neat. Just kind of build up layer after layer. It takes several layers when you're oil painting to try to finally build stuff up to where it starts looking like something. I'm not even using linseed oil now. I'm just putting the paint on the brush, just fairly dry and rough. It starts looking like a mountain. Notice how I'm holding my brush too at the end of the brush. It's kind of hard to get used to at first, but once you get used to it, it really helps you with oil painting. Allows you to step back and just kind of keep your eye on everything and and look at it. Now, as you can see, I'm not, well, I don't know if you can see the picture or not, but the photograph I'm using, but I'm not following it I never follow photographs exactly. I use photographs to get an idea, and then I just kind of start winging it and making it up. Adding and subtracting things subtract things I don't like, add some things that I want to see. And that quick, we got kind of a nice little mountain there. Now we're going to allow this to dry, and I'll come back in and start another session. After it dries, we probably, I don't know what I want to do next. If it's dry enough, I might go ahead and put the clouds coming in front of the mountains. If not, we can go ahead and put some of the foreground in, and I can add the clouds back there later. But I think we're going to stop and kind of let it dry for now, and then we got a pretty good start on our painting.